Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fantasy Fiends podcast, episode 4. Today, we have the magnificent M.L. Spencer, author of the, I might not be saying this right, the Ren Wars saga?
Yes, you said it right.
Awesome, the Ren Wars saga. So we're going to be speaking about a interesting topic, yet scary topic. Oh, wait, hold on. My YouTube is... There we go. Today we are talking about religion. So we're all three probably going to get into some really big fight.
I know, they say to avoid things like religion and politics and sports. So I figured today we'll do religion, next week sports, and then follow it up with politics. Actually, after the whole Comey thing that's happening today, I'm really interested to see where that goes.
The fiasco. Well, one of the people he leaked information to was me, so gotta say.
And what did he leak to you?
He told me that Trump had really nice hair.
Well,
I could. Wrong. That's the best thing I could come up with off the top of my head. Melinda's like, "What did I get myself into?"
I feel like I'm on Bill Maher.
Yeah. So, oh, I forgot.
No, I have the word for the week. Every week, Melinda, we like to do a weird word.
Okay.
And this one for the week is Vim. V-I-M. Vim and vigor.
Vim.
Yeah, it's energy, enthusiasm, liveliness.
Very good. All right, I'll have to get my Vim on.
Vim. So it is a noun. So wow, he has a lot of vim?
Yeah, vim and vigor. It's sort of like one of those older, like a Dickensian expression. They say vim and vigor. Like usually those two words go together. And I was just been listening to Terry Pratchett's Dodger book, which is basically set in Charles Dickens' London. Actually, it has Dickens as one of the characters and stuff. So I'm really like, my head is full of all these, early 1900s, late 1800s expressions.
There you go.
I love it. Vim. So, Melinda, we've had, for the words of the week, we've had heinous.
Heinous, okay.
Macabre.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes, and...
You got that one right.
Well, yeah. Oh, well, okay. I'm a French major, so I would say macabre, but I got told by an English teacher, so we're like the opposite, English teacher versus French. She's like, it's macabre.
Well, it's been Americanized or English.
Americanized. It's been Americanized. Yes, but either way, they're both cool words.
Well, at least you didn't say macabre.
No. I sure do love the word macabre.
We try to be intelligent on this podcast,
yeah.
So
we just a little
stay away from things like that, from just terrible things.
Well, what was the other word? Well, we've only done it 3 times.
No, I think we did one for the first podcast, the intro podcast, but I don't remember what it was.
What the heck was it? Okay, all right. So, do we want to talk about Miss Melinda's book?
Well, first, I want to talk about Wonder Woman.
Don't give away any spoilers. I'm watching.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But I will say that it is the best movie DC has made since Heath Ledger played the Joker.
Are you serious? Wow.
That's big.
That is big.
I found one thing that I could quibble over in the movie. Like when I watched Batman vs. Superman, I found 20 or 30 things that I just couldn't, as a writer and a reader and a comic book person, I couldn't swallow.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I can say about Wonder Woman is there was one part where, as a writer, I felt like it should have been done a little bit better, or there was something missing to make it actually work. But other than that, the movie was just so much fun. There was so much of a female touch to it. The director was a woman, and and I noticed it's actually the first studio-backed project with a female director. And just some of the ways they portrayed the human or the female/human side of Wonder Woman. Like they had a discussion there's this discussion at one point about like babies. She's walking down the street and she sees a baby and she goes and she says, "Oh, how cute!" Just such a thing that you would never see in a male-driven fantasy movie or something like that. Or Yeah, there's one part where the Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor are in a boat, and they just have this discussion, and it's so out of character for the sort of discussions that you have in a superhero movie. You know, it's none of this, big dramatic reveals. It's just such a human moment that makes the movie so much more relatable than Iron Man or Captain America. So I really enjoyed the way it was constructed.
And Chris Pine plays Steve Trevor, and I love him. I mean, he's so awesome. He's such a great actor. But I actually watched the interview for the director for Wonder Woman, and she really wanted to carve a path for future female directors. So I thought that was pretty cool. Melinda, you haven't seen it, I'm guessing?
No, not yet.
No. Okay.
I have a hot date coming up, but not yet.
I hope I didn't build it up. I hope I didn't build it up too much, because if someone says it's going to be great, it can often be disappointing. But as a comic book, as a decade-long comic book fan, it struck all the right chords with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And of course, she was amazing as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I'd only ever seen her in like Fast and Furious or Keeping Up with the Joneses. So
she was in that. I totally forgot about.
I didn't have super high expectations from her. I've never seen much of her acting chops before, and so going into this, it was sort of a fresh view. I was introduced to her potential as an actress for the first time, and I thought she did a great job.
Do y'all know that she actually had 2 kids?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Evidently they had to reshoot some scenes. And so they made like a triangle of blue screen over her stomach so that they could digitally remove her pregnant stomach for those scenes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she was pregnant during the filming?
No, I think she got pregnant. Maybe she got pregnant during, or she was pregnant after, and they had to do some reshoots. I don't know about the action scenes, but more of the dialogue and stuff like that. And so
that's intense.
Yeah,
that is.
That is intense.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she's quite amazing. She was Israeli armed forces. She was. I read an article, sort of a profile on her, and it said she was selected for her agility and her strength to be a combat trainer, not just a soldier.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And yeah, so the fact that she did that, she was Miss Israel 2004, I think, and then went on to become an actress and is now Wonder Woman. And I cannot think of someone who would do a better job.
Very nice. Yeah, very cool. Well, awesome. So, Melinda, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Ren Wars saga? Ren Wars, right?
Yeah, Ren Wars saga.
Ren Wars saga.
Okay, well, the Ren Wars saga is it's pretty epic. It spans 1,000 years. It starts off with the first book called Darkstorm, and it kind of sets things up where you have the situation where these magic users have to use something called a magic field, which is kind of like works like the world's magnetic field, and in the fact it actually reverses from time to time, and when this happens it's particularly catastrophic. And so this is going to happen. It's going to wipe out pretty much everybody who can use magic on the face of the planet. So their great solution that they come up with is actually to open the gates of hell and use the power of hell to stabilize the magic field. And so you kind of have 2 camps of people that who are opposed to the idea, and people who are actually, hey, that's a good idea. And so that kind of sets things in motion, and then from there on you have to deal with all the utter catastrophic fallout that extends from that.
So in order to save their magic system, they open the gates of hell.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I just read the first book, Darkstorm, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there was one scene near the beginning that was just so beautifully dark fantasy, just so ruthless and callous, and I was like, now why didn't I do a scene like that in one of my books? It was so perfect.
I often have those feelings, like, why didn't I write this?
And then what she does to one of her main characters at the end of the book, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I found it very bold and very very fresh for a dark fantasy book. So Melinda, well done.
Thank you, Andy.
So it is dark fantasy though?
It's definitely I consider it grimdark fantasy.
Hmm.
It's not as like bloody and gory as your typical grimdark novel. The reason why it kind of falls into grimdark is the moral ambiguity. It's really kind of hard to tell who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. Sometimes the bad guys become good guys, and the good guys become bad guys, and it kind of crosses all the moral boundaries.
Yeah, you never really know who to root for, or which of the camps are correct. I mean, obviously you're supposed to root for the four main characters, but then they make decisions that you're like, well, I don't know if that's the right one. And so,
I often got the feeling of that in Game of Thrones. Like I never knew who I was freaking going for. Like who am I behind here? Definitely not behind what was that horrible little kid?
Joffrey.
Joffrey, yeah. I was like, I definitely wasn't for him, but besides that, but that's awesome. And I really love your book covers. And it's the same, I want to say, like, model in each picture.
No, actually, it's not. Believe it or not, I wrote book 2 first. Book 2 was actually written back in 2002. It's true. I kind of wrote it just to be a standalone and to see if it took off or not. If it did anything, I was going to finish the series. If it didn't, I was just going to hang my hat up on it. Well, it didn't do anything, but I decided to finish the series anyway. So I actually went back and started writing book 1. So yeah, this is actually my book 2 cover behind me right here. And it's a completely different model than is on the other 2 book covers. So they did a really good job, though. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, they all look exactly the same almost. But see, I'm a book cover judge. Like I judge books by their cover, so I'll pick a book up at a store if I really like the book cover, and your book covers are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, they're really cool. It's the first thing I noticed whenever Andy said you were going to be on the show. So
that's cool. I'm glad you like them.
The dark to light transition of the 3rd book. I don't remember the name of it.
Dark Lens. Everything's dark.
Dark.
No, there was this. It's on the left side of the cover. It's very dark, and then there's the character in the middle, and then on the right side it's light. And I really like that transition because it's very eye-catching, and it sort of showcases a character arc or journey as well. I haven't read the book, so I don't know, but that's what it made me think of.
Well, I gotta give a shout out to Demonza on that one. Excellent cover art. Can't take credit for it. Demonza.
Demonza. Okay.
Yeah.
And are we reading a part of your book today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm excited.
Did you get the file she sent, Steve?
I do not believe so. Was it in that very long email?
It was in the first one that she sent.
Yes, I got it. I did get it. Thank you.
Good. All right. So, Melinda, as our guest, you get to decide who you want to read, and who is the narrator, and who does the other parts. So, divide and conquer.
Oh boy, I didn't realize that I would be reading.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Your fans demand it.
Then why don't you guys give me just a second, because I'm gonna have to go get a script. Let's see here.
Okay.
All right. So I'll be right back. You guys figure out who you guys want to read, and I can read the female part. That's fine.
I promise we won't be talking about you behind your back when you leave.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Promise.
All right, BRB.
Which one?
BRB.
Which one's the female?
Oh, that would be Azar.
Okay, perfect. So Stevie, I'll be the female this time, and I'll do the female voice, and you can be the narrator. Oh no, wait, she was going to do the female. Never mind. I was looking forward to trying on my female voice, but I guess I don't want to piss off the female.
You want to try out your female voice? Yeah.
All right, then tell you what, I'll read Darian, and you can read the narrator's part.
Okay, yeah, it's the first time I'm gonna. Yeah, it's my first time narrating, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Very nice. So yeah, thank you very much for not giving any spoilers for Wonder Woman or Darkstorm, because I want to read both, or I want to read both. Read one and watch the other. So
yeah.
Or
I mean, Darkstorm. Yeah, Darkstorm. There had some stuff in it that was like, oh, that's not how I would have done it. But as an author, it's almost impossible to shut down that part of your brain that that's always thinking about, okay, how what comes next, what's the next scene, all of that. So I try not to let that part of my brain detract from my enjoyment of the book or impact my review.
Totally, yeah, I totally agree with that. My thing is I don't really have time to read, so I've been doing a lot of Audible stuff. So I've just been listening constantly. So I'm drinking lots of coffee. So
Why?
the coffee?
Yeah, it's 7:45. Why do you need coffee?
Oh, because, well, I know it's not early to you probably, but at 7 o'clock is when I wake up and I write. Then I go to work and I come back and I write some more. And sometimes I just need a little pick me up. Plus, I didn't work out today, so this is like my pre-workout.
Fair enough.
So yeah. I'm a caffeine addict. Don't judge me.
I would be. So I don't let myself drink more than like 2 or 3 cups of coffee a week because I love coffee. Like every other writer. So cliche.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
But I don't want to be the kind of person who depends on coffee. I want to enjoy my coffee. Like every time I drink it, it's like, magic.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, you played Dungeons and Dragons, right?
I did. I have. I'm not currently playing, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say they're coming out with a new adventure, and it's a mixture of dinosaurs and zombies.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds pretty fantastic.
How does that work?
I don't know, but I'm excited to see what happens. Oh, we cannot hear you, Melinda.
Yeah, I think we're having technical difficulties with the sound. That's the joy of doing these things live, is that you never know when it's going to work or not work.
It adds a little bit of spice to the podcast.
I know, it keeps us on our toes. That's why we're just saying random words and hoping that they sound intelligent while we're killing time.
That's me all day, every day. I think today's word for me was viable. Like I use that in conversation, like, ooh, viable.
Every time I go to Texas, I'm trying to think of the word that I end up saying.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear.
Wow, that's really weird.
Obviously, y'all is the one that everyone picks up when they go to Texas, but there's another one.
Holler?
No. Anyway, I can't think of it. I was at the Texas Book Festival a year and a half ago, and I ended up saying this one word like 50 times over the course of the 2 days, and I'm like, why am I talking? I don't talk like this.
What are you trying to say, that we Texans have a drawl?
Well,
sadly you do.
Well, Melinda, did you find your script?
I did. I brought my ebook.
Nice.
All right, so I'm going to read the part of Darian. Stevie's going to be the narrator. You'll read Azar. Now, what sort of accent, what sort of character am I? Is this Darian guy?
Darian's actually almost got, I guess you can imagine, a Scottish kind of accent, but you don't need to go for that. You can just flip it through with your American.
That's hard, man. Why you got to make it so hard for Andy?
Yeah.
Because it's fun. I like watching him struggle.
Poor Andy.
Right. No, because I can sort of do Scottish, but then it often bleeds into sort of British and Irish and back and forth, and I don't want to insult any Scots people who could ever watch this. So I don't want to just totally butcher Scottish. We'll see what happens.
Mine bleeds into like Australian for some reason. So it's so weird. Okay, so just tell me when to start.
Go ahead,
okay.
CBT.
I apologize ahead if I mispronounce any of your words.
That's okay.
Okay. He looked to the east, where dawn warmed the horizon beyond the dark frame of the valley walls. The tall pedestal of Orion's finger loomed ominously in the center of a horseshoe-shaped canyon. The ground at their feet was blackened, as well as the surrounding cliffs. There was no trace of green, not even a single blade of grass. The entire canyon was charred and scorched. Darian bowed his head, knowing this was his own doing. His intention had been to protect this land. Instead, he had defiled it. As if sensing the direction of his thoughts, Azar turned to gaze at him with accusation in her eyes. Just looking at her rattled Darian's nerves. She hated him, with good reason. The damage he'd inflicted upon the rocks of this canyon was trivial compared to the horrors he'd wrought against Azar's own people. Thousands of lives torn instantly asunder, charred remains blackened to ash, scattered about the ground and tossed by the wind.
Azar.
Rehnquist called out.
Take Darian ahead to the transfer portal. Meet up with us in Bryn Calazar.
The girl nodded, still glaring at Darian with hostile contempt in her eyes. Then, shouldering her cloth pack, she turned and stalked away, crossing the black canyon floor toward the jutting tower of rock. Flustered, Darian watched her go.
Melinda, you can be the Byron guy.
Okay. What are you waiting for?
Byron Connell chided mildly, drawing up at Darian's side. He nodded his head in the direction of Azar.
Better go after her before she leaves you behind.
Darian grimaced. He hooked his hand around the leather baldric that crossed his chest and trudged after Azar. He trailed her around the wide base of the rock pillar until, mercifully, she drew to a halt on the far side. There, she stopped with her back to him and moved no further. Darian approached her cautiously. She was standing stock still, facing the orange disk of the rising sun. Darian paused, gazing at her with a questioning look. Azar was staring straight ahead, her mouth slack, eyes wide with startled amazement. Her lips quivered. She was trembling all over. He realized, her whole body shaking. Darian took a hesitant step toward her, then another.
You've never seen the sun before.
He surmised in wonder.
How's that? Am I doing all right?
That's good.
All right.
I knew you were going to try it.
That's the whole reason that we started this podcast, is so that we can have fun doing stupid accents.
I like it. Yes. Oh, now the Scots are stupid. Okay. Okay, yeah, I know. Azar tensed, her mouth snapping shut at the sound of his voice. She shot a smoldering glare his way. Then she shook her head, looking ashamed. Darian chanced another step in her direction.
It can't hurt you,
he assured her, trying to guess the cause of her reaction. She glared at him with searing hatred in her eyes. He could almost visualize the anger bleeding off her skin to saturate the air between them. But then, suddenly, Azar's expression faltered.
What if it falls?
She whispered. Darian was mildly shocked by the question.
What makes you think it will fall?
They say that is what happened to my homeland.
Azar explained without looking at him.
They say the sun fell from the sky and charred the ground.
Darian frowned, knowing for a fact that was not what happened. He'd met the man responsible for Caledorn's demise. The sun was innocent of any such wrongdoing. A gust of wind seized his hair, whipping it forward into his face. Darian reached up, pushing it back out of his eyes.
I don't think that's going to happen here,
he said. Azar fixed him with a cold, lingering stare.
Why not?
Because I won't let it happen.
Her gaze trailed slowly up the length of his body. Her lips curled in distaste as if she despised everything she saw.
You are a very arrogant man,
she said at last.
And you are also a hypocrite.
Why am I a hypocrite?
Darian demanded, baiting her intentionally. This was the most he'd ever heard her speak. He was intrigued. He wanted to know more about this woman, this mage of the enemy. Azar gestured around them with a wave of her hand, eyes wide and incredulous.
Look around. The ground is charred, just as black as the soil of my own country. You did this. You desecrated your own homeland. You murdered 100,000 of my people.
Darian nodded, knowing this had to be the source of her hatred.
There was 100,000 of them and only one of me. I did what I had to do.
Azar seemed repulsed by his response.
You immolated an entire generation of warriors!
Darian could only shrug, accepting full responsibility.
I swore an oath to defend my land and my people.
Now it was Azar's turn to take a step forward, her presence looming with hostility despite her size. Arms crossed in front of her chest, she sneered at him.
And now you've sworn another oath to defend my land and my people.
Darian closed his mouth, having no idea how to respond to that. He dropped his gaze to the demon hound, sitting on its haunches against the dark and ruined earth.
You are a hypocrite,
Azar accused.
What are you going to do if you have to protect my homeland at the expense of your own?
Darian could only glare at her in sullen silence. He had no answer to that. She had very quickly isolated and exposed his greatest weakness, his gravest fear, his naked vulnerability. She stood there before him, arms crossed, eyebrows raised expectantly, awaiting his response.
So much talk.
She mocked him.
And now you have absolutely nothing to say. Why am I burdened with you? You are not a man to be trusted.
Darian seethed at her in anger, his eyes scalding pools of resentment. He took a last step forward, closing the gap between them, and raised a finger before her face.
I'm not a man.
He reminded her in a voice hoarse with caustic fury.
And you do very well not to trust me. I've broken every promise I ever made.
With that, he turned and trudged away, back toward Orion's pedestal. The Thanacrist remained behind, growling at Azar, teeth bared and hackles raised.
Theonoch!
Darian called back at it. With a yelp, the demon dog sprang up after him, bounding to catch up.
Hooray!
Yay!
That accent was really good. Y'all both did very
Thank you.
Holy crap, good job, Andy.
One of the characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is Scottish, so I was just like trying to be him.
There you go.
Yeah.
You sounded like the guy from Highlander, Connor McLeod.
It reminded me of District 13.
Oh, yeah.
There's English in District 13.
With
District 9, you mean?
the guy who like is going to the prawns. He's like searching the houses of the prawns. Is it District 13 or District 9?
District 13 is a French parkour movie. District 9 is the South African, I think, alien.
I'm sorry. Yes, District 9. I actually had to watch District 13 for a French course in college, so that's why I got confused.
Yeah.
I was
Great
thinking
movie,
of the
great
Hunger
parkour.
Games this whole time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we are not in sync today. None of us three.
That's all right. That's what makes this fun.
So Andy, you've read that before, right?
This one, no, I haven't read book 3. I read book 1 and enjoyed it. Still have to write a review on my blog in the next few weeks, and haven't gotten around to reading books 2 or 3 yet.
Okay.
Is book 3 out, or is it just releasing soon?
It's coming soon. It should be out June 23rd.
Ooh, that's
Very
just
nice. Well, congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I see it is on pre-order?
Yeah, it's on pre-order right now.
Okay, I see that. I'm looking it up right now. I just wanted to say, like, the setting is what got me. I really want to take from you, and actually, I want to go back and like write a lot of my scenes with this awesome scenery that you've made. I love the word charred. Definitely, that was a big one for me. Like, I just picture like this burnt up land, like the back of a burnt body. So
That's pretty much what it is.
that's the image that I got. So
Mm-hmm.
charred should have been the word of the week, Andy.
Yeah, well, I haven't read over this excerpt yet, so we can
Well,
use it as next week's word.
I like them.
There we
Though.
go.
I like them, but it would.
Grim is
But
good.
charred would have to be something dark, like a charred corpse, or he charred the underfoot of the woman's foot to torture her, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melinda. Oh yeah, torture her.
There's an idea for my next book.
Yeah. Hey, that's copyright stuff right there.
That was actually Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that's actually a legitimate form of torture that they used to employ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
and actually, I think in modern times, they still use, I don't know about burning the feet, but they beat the bottom of the feet with the
Yeah.
bamboo cane. in
Yeah,
parts of
caning the
Southeast
feet.
Asia.
Absolutely.
Holy crap! Where are y'all getting this information from?
Research, man.
Wow.
I would hate for people to get a hold of my search history. I mean, goodness.
Hey, you never know. Kami might be on your searching your files.
Very, very possible.
Yeah, the fourth book of my Last View Solari series, the hunter goes to a place of the Masters of Agony, the torturers. So, as you can imagine, there's a whole torture scene. It's actually like 2 or 3 chapters showcasing some of the different medieval torture methods.
Very nice. Iron Maiden.
Yeah, well, no, because that's too cliche.
Yeah, it's
That's
too
mundane.
used. Yeah, it's too
Very
used.
mundane.
Well, can we talk some gore? I have a torture thing that I want to talk about.
All right.
Okay, so my girlfriend just got told by her brother. Have either of y'all seen the Vikings?
Yes.
Okay, so you might know this, but they break the ribs of the person they're torturing, and then they cut the skin off the back.
That's actually in my book 4. I actually have a scene where they did that.
Well, okay, we'll see the whole thing. So they pull the ribs out of the back, and then they take the lungs out and hang it over the shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
How much research do you guys do on torture?
A ton, let me tell you.
My God.
Yeah.
Wait.
The blood eagle is one of those Viking Norse execution methods, not a torture method, because you don't survive it.
No, you don't survive it.
Blood loss. And they say that only the strongest men were able to actually survive all the way until it was done. You know, and I don't know if it was a torture as much as almost like a sacrifice. Like I know in a couple of the scenes of Vikings, they do it as like, well, the guy, you know, dishonored himself. So by submitting to being blood eagled, he sort of recuperated his honor in the eyes of the gods and is then taken to Valhalla.
Oh my God, it's called Blood Eagled. Oh my gosh. See, I'd never even heard. Jeez, it's horrible.
People are pretty creative.
Yeah, there's some. What the heck? Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch Vikings now. And something I just realized, we haven't talked about religion one time.
No.
Well, you know, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of being the host of this show, is we can just completely mess with the structure and the format, you know, however we want.
Yeah,
and
we can do it how we want.
The reading done, because that was pretty fun. I really like doing accents. I don't get to do it all that often, so.
Andy, you and I have that in common. Andy and I are ready to get to the reading. Let's get to the reading.
Yeah. But, you know, this is actually a topic that I'm really interested in talking about. I started reading Brandon Sanderson's works, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, starting with the Wheel of Time books. And as I was reading more of his stuff, I got into listening to his podcast and his website.
Yeah, he has a good podcast.
And it turns out that he's a Mormon, which is one of the stricter Christian religions, and yet he writes about these worlds with different gods, polytheistic religions. For example, the Mistborn series has 2 gods, ruin and preservation. And then there's another one, harmony. And so like all these different fantasy stories, they have different gods. I was raised in a Christian background. And so when I first started writing the 13 gods of my world, it felt like sacrilege. Like I'm going against what I was raised to believe. And at the time I was doing it, I was sort of, I was going through a spiritual crisis, let's say. And I was just part of my shifting out of the former Christian life that I was living, and I've come to grips with it. But then other authors who are very devout, whether they are Muslim or Christian or Catholic or Buddhist or whatever religion, they write about these polytheistic worlds, and it's an interesting thing to wonder about how they can be okay with it, whether their religious system and their actual real life belief system, whether they collide or how they make it work.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I knew Brandon Sanderson was Mormon because I'm also a big fan of his podcast, and he talked about him having to go to France, and in France, it's a big deal to drink champagne and wine, and he kept having to refuse this, and it's, that hurts the French family's feelings having to, because if you're Mormon, you don't drink, No. So I want to talk to you later, Andy, which books you prefer, because I've been thinking about reading Way of the Kings or Heir of the Kings, or is that a good one?
I've seen a lot of people who say it's a great story and it's super long and super boring, but I loved it. So.
You loved it. Okay. Well, what I wanted to say real quick about the religion fact, it took me a while I didn't know if I was going to say anything about it or not. It's something I just kind of found out about myself, but I was born and raised Catholic, and about 2 years ago, I switched over to non-denominational. I couldn't get behind the traditions in the Catholic religion because I read the Bible. I was like, wait, a lot of these traditions aren't even in here. But but I still say I'm ignorant when it comes to all that stuff. But I switched to non-denominational. I'm happy about that choice. But anyway, either way, if I was Catholic or Christian, something started popping up in my writing, and that was I couldn't really, I didn't feel right, for one, writing fantasy, polytheistic religions. I couldn't have more than one God. And two, I had to capitalize the word of my single God. So it's something I found out about myself, and it was just something I was doing. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And once you guys brought this up, I was like, oh shit, I've been doing this whole time. So both the Four Territories and the book I just finished have a monotheistic religion with one God, and it's capitalized.
And now, what kind of God is he? Is he a Christian sort of God, or more of a Greek Roman God? Like what?
I never go into it. I never go into it. And the only reason you know there's one God is because they'll say, oh my God, or by the God, or by God, and it'll be capitalized. And usually you don't have to capitalize it. I don't know. It's just something I was doing. And I think it's a big enough difference that the reader will notice it.
Okay. Now,
if I were reading it, I would notice it.
Give it a little bit of thought. When you think of this God that you've created, what would you compare it to in real life?
I feel like since I've gone this far already, I would have to make him like the God I believe in.
Okay.
So, and it's just, I think I'm going to, when I have readers, because I've only released my short story. Once my books come out and I do get a following, I think I'm going to be upright and honest with everybody and say, hey, I'm Christian, and I'm going to be proud about that. So it's not like I'm pushing my religion on everybody, just like Andy, you're not pushing your 13 gods from the last Bucellari series, right? Is it 13?
Yes, 13.
Oh, it's 13.
But what you'll find out later on in the series is that my view of the gods is incredibly irreverent. Yeah, irreverent. It's not some mystical beings, sort of the Christian concept or the Hindu concept of gods. It's actually a much more grounded, almost atheistic or agnostic perception of gods. And because I enjoy creating them so much, I'm going to keep writing them. But it still sometimes feels weird.
It does, yeah. I could see that.
To say, the god of this, the god of that, because that's very Greek, very Roman, very Norse. The mythology with the different gods, each serving their own purpose.
Yeah.
Does the Renmore saga have a religious system that you explore, or no?
It does, definitely, and in fact, it's a lot like yours. It's taken a lot from probably Greek, Roman mythology. I even have a little bit of Hindu divas in it. I guess the interesting thing, about it is my gods actually have an actual impact on things that are going on in the world. But the question is, it's never really answered yet, and it's still the big mystery. Is it really the gods that are having the impact, or is it some influence of the magic system? You'll have to find out.
Okay.
Definitely.
Awesome. So there's a possible chance that the gods are listening to the prayers and actually influencing what's happening in the worlds.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, awesome.
One of the things that I noticed, let's say the best known religious system in fantasy is probably the Dungeons and Dragons one. The Icewind Dale, all of those, where there's each race has their own god, which was a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
But then instead of approaching it from that angle, I wanted to create a religious system, and actually one of the characters, a priest, says, humans created gods because we needed them. And that's actually true. I wrote an article, a blog post a year or two ago about the purpose of gods. The origin of religious system from an evolutionary standpoint. Not evolution, man came from monkey, but evolution, humans adapting to their environment. Let's separate those two things.
Mm-hmm.
The article that I read was on Psychology Today. It was talking about how a hunter in the savannah, his child got eaten by a lion. And there needs to be some rationale for that to happen.
Yeah.
It makes sense that the lion is hungry, and so he chose the child. The child was prey. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, lightning strikes. you don't understand the concept of lightning and it burns down your village. How do you explain that? There is no way to explain that. So you need to create something in order to understand it. Humans have this need to understand, to rationalize things, to frame it in a way that they can grasp. So it was an interesting exploration of, okay, so were religions created for this purpose, to give people something to hold on to when there was no explanation.
My math teacher used that. He was an atheist, and I loved him, but one thing he said bothered me. He said God was just an excuse for things that we wanted to blame on, just like what you said. But it always stuck with me, and you can't really, I guess, argue against it unless, you know, all Christians are going to say it's faith, it's faith. So that's. But what's weird you say that. I was reading in the newspaper today, a boy drowned of dry drowning, DRI drowning. Did you read about that?
I did. I read about that. It was so sad.
Isn't that sad? Like, then you have to ask. I know we're getting way off topic. But I had to ask. You know, why could God let this happen? You know. And it reminded me of what you just said, Andy, you know, that we have to blame or, you know, for something happened. So I'm surprised you actually read that. I thought I would be the only one.
I'm a chronic news watcher, so.
Okay. I have it on my iPhone, so I'm like addicted to it now because it gives me the little feed. So I read. I just kind of got into it.
There was this short story, sort of a Conan-esque short story. I don't remember where I read it. I read it sometime in the last decade about these sailors. They go to this island and they find these people who they have this very, you know, structured society. Everything is utopian. And then when someone breaks the law or steps outside of the strictures, they do horrible things to kill them. And then the people say, well, if we don't, you know, impose these laws, the gods or the king up on the hill is going to punish us. So we do it to, you know, to keep everything in line. And so the sailors, they saw this, you know, the society, the things that the people were doing in the name of law and order were terrible. So they're like, okay, so what kind of king or god would enforce that, would cause that to happen? So they storm the castle, and they find that the king or god or whatever had been dead for thousands of years. Or
what?
There's a skeleton. And so the people had been carrying on in the name of these. I don't remember if it was a god or a king. So but it's almost like that. Like if you think about the religious wars, you know, the Crusades.
Yeah.
All the things that have happened in the name of religion.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti-religious. You know, I don't currently espouse any particular belief. I really do enjoy a lot of things from the Islamic religion, from Buddhism. I was born in Japan and was exposed to Shintoism, and, you know, every religion has a lot of, you know, value to it. So I feel like there's a lot of good there.
Wait, you were born in Japan?
Yeah, I was born in Japan. Lived there till I was 14.
What?
Oh my goodness!
No way. You speak Japanese?
Have we not talked about this? I used to speak Japanese. I still speak a little bit, but not.
Nihongo wa hanashimasu ka?
Skoshi dake.
Okay, I study Japanese, so.
You don't need the wa. You just say Nihongo hanashimasu ka.
Okay, well, thank you. See, that's why that language is so freaking hard.
You have no idea.
I do my app every day, and I have a book, but. Melinda, I'm going to steal a question that Andy said. And thank you, Andy, for bringing it back to literature. I kind of took us off topic with a question I had on my own spirituality. So Andy emailed us asking, is fantasy, you know, writing about religion and fantasy, is it anti-religious? And I couldn't answer it. And I just wondered if either of you had an answer to that. You know, if you want to write something that's not your own religion, you know, in a fantasy way, in a fantastical way.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had to do a lot of soul searching on that myself. When I started writing the Bryn Mawr Saga, honestly, I was atheist. So Dark Mage was written, honestly, from an atheist perspective. However, I converted to Islam a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I've actually had that change in my life. And I've kind of had to go on writing and just kind of see how this actually fit in with my religion. Did it or did it not? And I've struggled with it. And I kind of came out in the end saying, yeah, I may actually be writing about a polytheistic society, but I'm not actually worshiping these gods. Absolutely not. The gods are actually, they may not even be gods. We'll find
It's
out.
fake. It's a story.
It's fake. It's a story. But what is important about the story is the theme, the message behind the story. And honestly, I think that the theme really makes it stand out for me and kind of speaks from my spiritual perspective too. And the theme is basically, you really need to be able to see things through other people's point of view. We have such a need to otherize in our society and distance ourselves from people who are not like us. And oftentimes when you try to turn that camera around and look at through things through other people's eyes, you find out that these people that you thought were not necessarily, the best people or whatever, they're oftentimes, they have really good points. They have very good virtues, things like that. So I definitely have no problem writing what I write in the context that I write it with my religion.
And Andy, you had something to say?
No, I mean, well, there's two things. One of them was about prejudice, which is sort of what you were talking about, Melinda, about how we separate ourselves from or distance ourselves from things that are not like us. I read an interesting article and I wrote a blog post on it about the origin of bias and prejudice, and that the brain is designed to absorb new information, and it's always looking to explore and find new things. But if there's too much information too quickly, it triggers a fear and anxiety reaction. It's too much the fear of the unknown. So when there's that reaction, we try to distance ourselves. We act aggressively toward the thing that scares us or makes us anxious, or we avoid it. There's this instinctive reaction, and that's what prejudice is. It is a feeling of negative emotions towards something without cause. And so it's an interesting origin, like I said, of prejudice and bias. And it really got me thinking, okay, there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily understand. I don't understand everyone's gender preferences or sexual identities, or I don't understand politics from all perspectives. There's so much that I don't understand, but instead of being instinctively against it because I don't understand it, I need to understand that it's my brain that's not able to absorb the information. So it's not your fault for being different, for having a different opinion or being something other than what I understand. I need to sit down and give it some thought. Exactly. And it's a really interesting thing for me to understand that prejudice is my fault, not your fault.
No, you're coming from it from a wonderful point of view right there, honestly. I think that we all have those things that our perspective, and we look at our entire world through our perspective. It's almost like looking through the rose-colored lenses metaphor, okay? But whenever you step outside that perspective, there is a discomfort zone. There is. But actually, when you give things a chance, oftentimes you'll find that there's beauty there and value. Definitely.
Hey, and Raven Oak is posting on the live chat, and she's making a few good points. I didn't know if you guys were watching it.
No, I can't see it.
Y'all can't see it?
Not on mine. I may have a setting.
Oh, see, I opened up the YouTube thing. Yeah. Oh, I thought that's why you sent me the link, but I can read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she says, having a different religion than your own doesn't make something anti-religion, just different. Fantasy authors often create new and different religions as part of world building. Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. And yet all of these differences aren't really all that different. We are more alike than we know. Prejudice comes from fear of that which is different, but all prejudices can be overcome. And she says, Andy, stop writing. Man, Raven, that's mean. Man, wow, Raven. Okay, she didn't say that. But yeah, I think she makes some really good points.
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. Now, Belinda, I'm going to ask you this because someone has asked me this before. And they said, so what are you putting out into the world? What's the message that you're saying? Like, let's say you as a Muslim, you are putting out a different religion into the world. So is that the message you're trying to share, or is that just a story? And so I'm not expecting an answer from them, but it was an interesting perspective that I think it was my mom actually who said that to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely am sending a message out into the world. And I think that my message has to be, you're not always right. If you really boiled it down, you are not always right. And if you look hard enough, you may find out those things that you really, really believed might not actually be true. And sometimes those things that you thought were right might very well actually be wrong. You know, I've had a couple of different things that have happened to me in my life where that pushed my concepts and my beliefs completely out the window. And I think that only happens through a lot of personal self-examination. And you can kind of come out of that a completely different person than when you go into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of my approach to, I'm going to say, religion right now, is instead of clinging to one specific belief system and saying this is what is right, I feel like given the state of the world right now, that could actually be detrimental to forming, you know, positive, healthy relationships with other people, given how many differences there are between us. You know, you walk out the door and you see people who are from a different country than you, a different gender identity than you, a different sexual identity than you, a different religion, or a different subcategory of the religion you practice. Like, there's so many differences, and because of the global culture of the world, we're exposed to so much in such a small amount of space. So if I were to say this is what I believe, then I would have to reject other belief systems, and that could cause me to reject people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, and it's something I'm pretty sure of what I'm going to do. I really want to, in my author bio, say that I am a Christian. And I was wondering, what do you guys think about an author being upfront with their readers of what religion they are?
I don't have any problem with it.
It turns
In fact,
off readers?
I don't think that would turn me off at all. I mean, honestly, I think the reader should know like what lens you do look at the world through. Oftentimes readers want to know you more on a little bit of a personal level just so they know how to connect with you in your writing. And that only enriches the experience for readers.
I would say putting it in your bio, like the professional bio that you post to, say, Amazon or to other places like that, if you're trying to be a Christian author, you want to put that you're a Christian. If you're just trying to get people to know you, that's something that you put on your blog, that's something that you share through your emails. But to put the word Christian in your bio generally leads people to believe
you're a Christian fantasy author.
Well, no, not that you're a Christian, that you're writing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
From a Christian perspective. Exactly. No, but like, because it takes it away from your personal beliefs and it makes it more like what you're about to read is Christian. Yeah.
Okay. See, I was afraid of that. And I am interested in writing in the Christian fantasy genre, but I'm not quite sure what that is yet. So it's like an elf goes to the Catholic Church or something. I'm not sure yet. So
actually, I'm going to put a shout out to Alric Elos, Conquest, a lit RPG book, if you want to see something in the lit RPG genre that's from a Christian perspective.
Really? Actually, let me look that up because I'm just about to publish my first lit RPG.
Okay.
So what is it?
It's called Conquest, a lit RPG novel, I believe.
I'm going to have to hit that up. Well, that'll be cool. Well, thank you very much for that. So yeah, I'm religioned out. But I'm glad we got to this topic today because I totally forgot about it when we were talking about Wonder Woman and reading that awesome excerpt. So, but like Andy said, that's the wondrous thing about being your own host. So, and there's a lot of whiskey in this coffee too. So there's not. I swear there's not. Andy and I only do that on Tuesday night.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Is there anything else? Because I don't think we're going to have a chance to discuss this particular topic again. So I want to see if there's anything else. As a person, let's say, Stevie, you as a Christian, right? What is there a non-denominational believer? Do you think that writing from another deity, or writing from the perspective of someone who is an atheist, someone who is a polytheist, someone who believes in the Greek mythology, would that change your perspective of a book, or would you just enjoy it regardless?
I'm so glad you asked me. I don't give a shit. Or I don't care. I am not a Bible thumper. I just I believe in the Heavenly Father. I try to be a better person every day. I pray in the morning before I go to bed. Always try to become a better Christian every day. Am I going to let that get in the way of me reading a good fantasy novel? Hell nah. No way. It reminds me of the scene in Clerks where, have y'all seen Clerks 2?
Yes.
Oh, man. Andy, go watch it right after this. But he's like this nerdy guy who goes to Bible camp, and he's like 25 years old. Is like, well, they explained to me that Transformers is not a slight against God because God created God created humans, and humans created the Transformers. So but it's stuck in my head. And I was like, well, that makes sense. It's just entertainment. And if I get all riled up because a book has a different deity that's not my own, then I'm probably not going to be a person people are going to want to hang out with a whole lot. So that's just my own opinion. I love reading about different religions built by other people because I know they're fake. And if you're going home and praying to these 13 gods you created.
I definitely am not.
Okay, like the beggar god. That was my favorite one.
I just had a vision of that.
Yeah.
I will have an artist design sort of the zodiac with the 13 god symbols, and I'm going to tattoo that somewhere on me.
See, I don't even have a problem with that. I know they say like it's in the Bible that your body's your temple. You shouldn't tattoo yourself. Well, I want a Star Wars tattoo, damn it. I want a Star Wars tattoo, and I don't think that's going to keep me out of the pearly gates, or is that what they call it, the pearly gates?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's the pearly gates.
It's got to be made out of pearl, all right? It's not godly if it's not pearly.
What about you, Melinda? Does it ever make you just like jar you a little bit when you read something else, or I guess write it as well? Do you ever have to sort of swallow your innate, oh, this is wrong, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I just started working on a new short story for a particular anthology that I'm working for, and I am writing something so disturbing that I've been looking at myself going, God, how am I writing this? I do not understand.
Melinda.
Who am I?
Who are you, Melinda?
My husband literally read the first paragraph, looked at me, and said, who are you?
Who am I married to?
Exactly.
Is it dark and evil or something?
It's disturbing.
Oh.
Yes. It's dark and evil.
He was scared of you. He's like, get away.
He's like, how do you come up with these ideas? So yeah, it does kind of make me look at myself and wonder. But again, the writing is a medium. The story is a medium for the message. And I think it's the message that needs to go through,
Yeah.
It's kind of like music, music is a form of communication. It can rise, it can fall, it can crescendo, it can make you cry, but the music, does convey the message.
Melinda, not to interrupt you, but one of our viewers, Aaron Michael Hall, just says she likes disturbing in her fantasies. So you may have turned off your husband, but you gained a fan. So.
Hi, Aaron Michael.
Awesome. Well, that's good. That was a good question, Andy.
Thank you. I really do want to delve into these more interesting topics. I feel like a lot of podcasts focus more on the writing side of things, and the writing is always fun to talk about, but the people and the beliefs and the thoughts behind it, that's what really interests me.
You know what we should all realize is that, Andy, you and I are like fidgeting while we're talking, and Melinda's like this.
I'm all chill.
Just like perfectly still, and Andy, you're like, religion.
I think your chair is just more comfortable.
It's much more comfortable.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've been sitting in my office chair all day long, so I'm definitely, I need to get up. But seeing as we're running out of time, Melinda, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Okay, definitely the first place to go if you're trying to find me is my website, which is mlspencerfiction.com. From there, you can download free previews. You can check out my book trailer, stuff like that. You can find my books on Amazon. Right now, they're Amazon exclusive, although I think I'm probably going to be pulling my first book out of Amazon exclusive soon and going wide with it. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, but again, all the links are right from my website. So, and guys, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It has been so much fun.
Thank you for joining us. And I will say that Melinda's books have the Andy Peliquin seal of approval.
Yay!
Means so much to everybody, obviously. But I really love two scenes in the book that were just like, I like this. And that doesn't happen to me often. So well done.
Well, thank you. That means a lot because I'm honestly an Andy Peliquin fan. So thank you.
I'm a fan as well.
Yes, I'm a fan too. We're all just fans.
Group hug.
Hooray. We're all religious buddies.
So with that self-congratulatory ending, I think that's all of our time for this week. Next week, we're going to have the wonderful Angie Grigalumias. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering her name, but her stories are incredibly dystopian with a very Nazi theme. So I'm hoping we can get some discussion topic along that dark, grim dystopian.
So we are going from religious to Nazi.
Yeah.
That sounds like the Fantasy Fiends podcast right there.
Absolutely.
That should be our subtitle. From religious topics to Nazi topics. We are the Fantasy Fiends. So, well,
all right.
Thank you very much, Melinda. It has been so fun having you. And I would love to read your book. Is it on Audible, by the way?
No, it's not yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just wondering for all those viewers out there. Okay, so on Amazon and on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, that concludes our 4th episode of the Fantasy Fiends podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know why I say that. I
Really that's your thing now. Is bye.
I know. I felt like it was really stupid to say it like that. And then the people who watch my live readings on Tuesday, they're like, "No, that's our favorite part." So now I kind of have to say it all the time.
My mom brought it up to me. She was like, "Bye," and I was like, "Oh God, you watched it."
That's awesome. All right, so we better cut this off before we get any worse. All right, have a good week.
See you later.